council to order and welcome. Thank you all for coming. And I'd like to ask Pastor Chris Yost to come forward and give the invocation. We're honored to have you tonight.
You bet. It's an honor to be with all of you, and just want to let everybody in our whole community know God is madly in love with you, and there's nothing you can do about it. With that, let's pray. God, we do give you thanks and praise to be in a community that seeks through intentionality and deliberation to be about lifting this community up, helping to create opportunity for all of its citizens, and making sure that our little piece of this country lives up to the values and ideals that our founders had envisioned. God, when we mess up, dust us off, forgive us, set us back on our path. When we do good, may we celebrate as a community and cheer one another along. May the genuine exchange of ideas and ideals be from the heart and be from the best interest for our community, trusting that through intentional deliberation in your presence, that we will end up in a better vision, a better future than any of us could have conceived of on our own. God, I pray for each one of these members. I pray for our community. God, always, we never forget the people who serve our community on the ambulance runs and the firefighters, our police force, all those people who volunteer, God, to make this a good place to live. We ask you bless all of our city workers and help them, God, to never be taken for granted. Lord, we thank you for just the opportunity to gather in freedom and for the free exchange of ideas. I pray this in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. I have a couple of proclamations tonight. First of all, I'd like for John and his staff to come forward. Have a Library Excellence Award. Would you like to introduce these young men?
This is Manuel Ramirez, and this is Dawson Melton.
Okay. Good.
Mellon, yeah, I said it wrong.
Okay. Good. We have a proclamation. You received again the 2022 Achievement Library Excellence Award. Whereas public libraries play vital roles in education, recreation, and empowerment of local communities, and whereas each year the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association confers Achievement of Library Excellence Award for outstanding contributions to public libraries in Texas, and whereas applicants must exhibit excellence by providing services to underserved and special populations, marketing in innovative ways, which we do and which you brought to us, John. Pursuing collaborative efforts, continually enhancing its services, supporting literacy, digital inclusion, and workforce development, providing cultural, topical, and educational programming and comprehensive training to its staff. Whereas of the approximately 542 public libraries in Texas, and only 73 received this award, so congratulations. Whereas the Walworth Harrison Library has met the requirements of excellence and been awarded the 2022 Texas Municipal Library Directors Association Achievement Award, what a mouthful, the Library Excellence Award. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Greenville, we hereby congratulate you and the library staff on this job well done, and encourage all of our residents to visit the library and enjoy the music programs that we offer. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you worked there?
I've been working there for 5 years, actually.
Okay. Well,
One place I've always liked going since I was a kid. And then I went to Commerce, which I stayed there. It was mostly my home, but as soon as my time was up, I'm like, Greenville is now my new library to go to, and I've been working there since. Never dreamed I'd work there, and it's a dream come true. I never thought that would become a reality.
okay, well, good. And you?
My name is Dawson. I started working at the library back in January, newest hire. So, yeah, I try and help keep the library running smoothly, make sure all the patrons are provided for, and they have all the resources they need.
Well, apparently you're doing a good job, both of you. So thank you very, very much. Yes. Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Bo Hartline to come forward. I don't know if any of you know, but Bo is he's been at Wright Park for over 44 years. He is, and his family has been involved in golf for multiple generations, probably one of the most generational families that's been involved in golf over the many, many years. His father and mother, at one time or the other, were the professionals at Wright Park, at what is now the Oaks Country Club and Sand Hills Country Club. And Bo's uncle was also a renowned green superintendent in the Dallas area for many, many years. Bo has a couple of brothers who have been, or one of them involved in golf, the Heartline Performance Center out by I-30, and also you have a brother that is involved in golf in South Texas. Yeah, so. And your son is involved in golf business, so just want to mention that. And so it's a very, very proud family. I guess they're proud. Are they proud of you? So Bo Hartline. Bo began work as the manager of Wright Park Golf Course in January the 27th of 1979. He follows a history of Heartline members, which I mentioned at Wright Park Golf Course. His late father, P.D. King Heartline, began at Wright Park Golf Course in 1959. Bo has served as a mentor for many youth by working with junior golfers for the past 20 years. And he's helped grow the game with those young golfers. Bo has also served as the golf commissioner for the Texas Amateur Athletic Foundation. And Bo has served the city of Greenville well throughout his extensive career, promoting the spirit of community and friendship to all those who have visited and played at Wright Park Golf Course. And you're doing a great job out there now. I don't know how many you have scrambled every, twice a week, and you get 40 or 50 people out there. That's outstanding. That didn't happen for a lot of years. The city of Greenville wishes to honor you for his distinguished service, and to the citizens of Greenville for this great city, the way you serve our citizens. So thank you very much. Thank you. We don't have a gold watch for you.
No, I don't have.
Where's the cake, Bo? Okay, and there are a couple of placeholders in your agenda for citizens to be heard and public testimony. Citizens can be heard on items that are not already scheduled for public hearing or on the agenda. Tonight, we have 3 public hearings, if you'd like to speak to those, and public testimony is for citizens who would like to address items that start on item 7A tonight with ordinances. We have ordinances and resolutions, so that would start at 7A. So if you'd like to address the council on any of those issues, please present a citizen's comment card to the city secretary. Are there citizens to be heard?
Yes.
Okay.
Pedro Ibanez.
Yes, my name is Pedro Ibanez. I live on 1601 Stewart Street, and all I just want to know is what's the resolution about the problem with my the sewer. I have the paper right here. I had to go that far, that special step, to see what the city's going to do about this, because you see, I have to be smelling all the waste. It's all over my yard. My whole yard's already full of poop and everything in the yard, and I want to keep my yard green and beautiful, and I can't do it because of all the issue that happened with the city, the waste, the people from the water company. All I wanted this to do is, like I say, you break it, you fix it, and the foreman, he basically told me straight out, oh, I'm sorry, I put the excavator on top of those pipes, you know. And I said, yes, but don't you think that if in the long run, what's the consequences that I'm gonna have to deal with, you know? You know, these 2 pipes are broken. I mean, I don't have the money to fix it. All I want for the city to do is, they broke it, they fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other citizens to be heard?
Deidre Mead.
Hello, Deidre Mead, 414 Division Street, Greenville 75401. I'd like to thank you all for serving our community. and representing all the citizens of Greenville. All my comments tonight are in regard to the old Best Western on the north side of I-30, the service road near Moulton. On August the 15th of '22, the Planning and Zoning approved a zoning change from hotel, general, whatever that one was, to multifamily. 1 week later, you, the city council, approved the same thing. The applicant, Sai Patel, said that he would be moving people in 9 months. That had been questioned for 5 years. We'd been asking, saying, no, please say no, please say no. He cannot follow through with this. We are now at 6 months, 28 weeks from when you approved that. The only visible work is the fence completion that was started before your vote. It was finished after the vote. There's been little to no activity. No obvious electric connections, no dumpsters. The windows are boarded up. No improvements, just further decay. I encourage each and every one of you to please drive by and see what your vote for multifamily has accomplished for the citizens of Greenville. I also encourage each of you to reach out to your constituents and ask them what they think of that vote now, 6 months later, 6 months into a 9-month, we're going to be finished plan. And mostly, I'm curious what your next act will be concerning this blight upon our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mead. Did you like to address that, Daniel?
Yeah, you're right. Nothing's happened in 6 months. Not at all. They finished the fence after the city council voted on that. That owner, Mr. Patel, and his family put that building up for sale. It's currently up for sale. And I think a sale probably, given what's happened over the past half decade, is probably the best thing that could happen. But you're right, the only thing that has happened is the fence was completed. Now, we do have, we're in litigation. The city is in active litigation with the owners, so we cannot comment on what's happening in pending litigation, but as part of that, the city did ask for something that's part of the public record, so we can discuss it, which is a temporary injunction requiring that the fence be kept up to date and the boards that cover the windows and the doors be repaired once a month. We are, and I give the council a update on that every single meeting. I go over there once every 2 weeks, take pictures of the doors and windows and the boards, and then tell them, and then they have a guy that comes out and fixes them. But until that building is sold, and I will tell you, we know from talking to the sales company that there was a walkthrough scheduled with potential buyers a couple of weeks ago when, on the day that the ice storm hit. We don't know if that's been rescheduled or not, but I can guarantee that the council understands your frustration and the community's frustration in general, and they've directed staff to be very, intentionally directional with the way that that's handled. But there are very specific limitations about what the city can do. I remember the city has gone through the process 2 separate times of condemning that property. All it takes to get out of that type of condemnation is a few different court filings. Those were filed in those cases. They acted as automatic appeals of what the city was doing. So this time around, the city went a different direction, which was to file an actual lawsuit, which is pending. More than that, the city doesn't have any sort of way to, roll big yellow machines over there to knock it down. To the great frustration of many people. But I guarantee you're being heard. The community in general has very similar feelings. And to the extent action can be taken, the council has directed staff to take that action.
Thank you.
Are there other decisions? Okay, we'll move on to item 6A. Public hearing for citizen input regarding a service contract with Blackjack Disposal. Summer?
Yes, Mayor, short background. Our existing contract for sanitation services expires September 30th, 2023. The City of Greenville directed staff to go advertise for bids. So we did that November 12th of 2022 and November 19th. We opened 3 bids and 1 no bid on December 7th, 2022. After those bids were opened, city staff and the council members on the Governance and Fiscal Affairs Subcommittee reviewed those bids for solid waste services contracts. After review, city staff and the subcommittee recommendation was to award a contract to Blackjack Disposal. So the next steps in that were the Blackjack to make a franchise application, which they did with the city. That was posted in the newspaper on February 18th. So tonight will be the first hearing of that franchise application or that franchise or that contract, which was listed in the paper, which Daniel and his staff worked hard to get published. And so tonight's the first reading, first public hearing. The next meeting will be the second public hearing, and then March 28th will be the third and final public hearing, and then that contract will be up for City Council's review after that third and final public hearing.
Any questions, council members? No, sir. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone might here like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this issue? There being no one, I'll close the public hearing. There's no action on this tonight. It's just the first reading. So we'll move on to item 6B, public hearing to discuss and consideration and action on resolution to modify tax abatement agreement between the City of Greenville and Friesen Store. Greg, Mr. Sims, would you come forward with that, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Greg Sims, Greenville Board of Development. This is just a amendment from an existing tax abatement that you had already passed in October of 2021 for a project that we had received from the state, and it took us a long time to land it. Thankfully, we landed it. This was the refrigerated storage facility. It's over on Industrial Drive. If y'all remember, the city and GBOD, we had to build a street, extend Industrial Drive for them. So the deal we made with them was a 5-year, 50% tax abatement on the equipment and the real estate back then. There were 2 companies that came together to do a joint venture when we worked on the project. One company was going to own the equipment. The other company was going to own the real estate. In the middle of all this, getting the facility built, the one company, the gentleman retired, sold all his business, not just this business here, but all his business to the other company. So then we had to go in and ask for modification to the tax payment so it could still happen the way we want it to happen. So this is just an amendment. The city attorney's office has been working on it. We had it approved unanimously this morning at the county commissioner's court because we had to do the same thing there. So it's just a formality.
This is just really consolidating those 2 tax abatements.
Yeah, it's just amending them, and it's a formality. So.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Sims? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
yes,
right, okay, and the start date.
They want to move the start date January 1, 2023 because of it took them so long to get the building built during the pandemic of getting materials and costs, things like that. So
okay.
I think you understand the problems that were then. So.
Okay, there are no questions from council members. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone like to speak either in favor or opposition to this item 6C? There being no one, I'll close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue? There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion is second. Please vote. Where do you point that? Does it matter? Okay, and it passes unanimously. Okay, item 6C, public hearing to discuss and consider an action on an ordinance for a request by Kendall Litchfield for a change of zoning from single-family 1 district to general retail district with conditional use permit.
Yes, sir. Good evening. How y'all doing? Have you got any of my loads? This property actually is, it's a lot right behind Cavender's. It's the only lot that faces Canton in that block. No, that's all right. Roughly the property's right here. This house has been removed. What we're wanting to do is build a new Masonic lodge here. I think they're in the process of selling theirs. It's a fairly small structure, 3,200 square foot. It'll have 15 parking spaces, which is adequate, which does meet the code. They don't meet that often. It's going to sit about 300 foot off the road, so it's not going to be up on the road, but it basically faces the wall of the shopping center out there, if y'all are familiar with that. But they're wanting to do that. We sent 15 letters out to property owners around that. We only got one back who actually was in favor of that. At P&Z, we actually had a guy that came was in favor of doing that too. Evidently, there's been some issues with homeless here, so they did take a lot of trees out, but I think that they got rid of the homeless issue for the time being. So I think he was looking to have a better neighbor there than we would, normally. So they're seeking general retail zoning, which is they're contingent with Cavender's, but according to our ordinance, you have to have a specific use permit to put a conditional use permit. I'm sorry, to put a lodge, civic center, or fraternity. Of course, they fall into the lodge aspect. So that's the reason we're also seeking the conditional use permit with the zoning change. Pretty straightforward. I mean, the house is gone now. I can't imagine anybody building a house there that would face Canton. It's the only lot that faces Canton. So I did take it to P&Z last week, and they recommended approval of it by a vote of 6-1. So staff would recommend approval of it also. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve. If there are no questions, I'll open this up for the public hearing. Anyone like to speak either in favor or opposition to this item 6C? Would come forward. If there is nobody, I'll close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to 7A, ordinances, consideration action on an ordinance authorizing payment for necessary right-of-way and associated easement for the construction of Roy Warren Parkway sewer from Craters Road to 1570. Summers first.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Back in November of 2020, voters approved a bond for the construction of Roy Warren Parkway. We have gotten most of the easements for this, but we have this easement that we're needing for the sewer. And it's a location up on Highway 34. The map was in your packet as well. So this is going to be at a cost of $106,000. So the project money is already there since the bond was already sold. So this will extend sewer all the way from Traders down to 1570 and open it up not only for Roy Warren but future development as well.
Any questions for the city manager regarding this issue? If there are not, I'll open this for public testimony. Anyone like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this issue? Since there is no one, I'll close the public testimony. What is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
Second, please vote. And 7A passes unanimously. 7B, consideration and action on the ordinance for the city of Greenville, Texas, authorizing issuance and sale The City of Greenville combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation for 2023, and this is the roll-up of all those projects. Go ahead and talk about it that we did. So, GP?
Yeah, you did a great job introducing it, so I really don't have too much to add to this.
Didn't
So I'll
sound
kind of.
very good to me, but.
Well, I thought you did great. So I'll just hand it off to Stephen Adams with SPF here, and he has a very short, brief presentation for you.
Thank you. And also, Rob Collins with Bracewell, the bond attorney, is here if you have any questions regarding the legal aspect of this. So recall that last December, you authorized us to move ahead. You published 2 times in the newspaper, which is required by state law for selling certificates of obligation. We went through a rating process, and that culminates this morning when we took bids for these bonds at 9 a.m. Through an electronic online bidding platform that's used in the industry. During that process, the rating for the city was affirmed at AA-, which is good. You're financially very, very strong. The credit was also approved for insurance by a AA rated company that is basically selling their rating, and they will pay these bonds if for whatever reason the city can't. So they're on the hook for 20 years for this. It was bidder's option. Some of the bidders bid with insurance. The winning bidder did, and some of them bid without. So we have a winning interest cost of 3.83%, and that's far below the current inflation rate. So moving all those projects up and doing them now saves money for the cost of inflation for projects, delaying them and building them over time out of cash. Recall that we have about $2.7 million worth of projects. Some of them go 10, 15 years, and some go as long as 20 years. Here are the firms that bid, and the difference between the winning bid and the losing bid was 25 basis points or 0.25%. So, I mean, everybody thought they were going to get it, so that's why we bid these. That equates to a lot of money, and for every basis point, you can see it's $1,800 present value. So, worked out really well for the city. We're really happy to get the bid from TD Securities. You can see the ones with the little asterisk beside them. They bid with bond insurance. So they bid for they bought it at the city's rating. They bought the insurance. They paid for it, and they turned around and sold it at a higher rating. And the other firms did not choose the insurance. So the market, showed us which one was better. This is the debt service on the certificates. If you approve these, you can see that it's a little over $200,000 a year for the projects that go with a 15-year life, and then it drops down to about $125,000 a year for those projects that have a 20-year life to finish off. I want to point one thing out. You see the coupon rate at 5%. That's higher than the 3.83%. In order for the bidders to get that, if you look at this, they had to pay this city a premium of $250,000. They like the higher coupons. It provides tax-exempt interest with the higher coupon for their clients, and that's why they do that, because the interest rates are still very low right now. So, we published $3 million. We're only selling $2.5 million because we got that premium, and we only need $2.7 million plus the cost of issuance. So we don't have any extra money. We're only selling what the council authorized us back in December. Just going a little bit through the calendar, you can see that we did publish the notifications in December, a couple of dates in December, went through the rating process, posted the official statement, received bids this morning. The offer tonight is for the city to buy the securities from TD Securities. And then after, if you do approve the sale, Rob's firm will get all the documents signed, get them approved by the Attorney General's office, which is required by statute, and we will deliver on March the 28th. So with that, we do recommend that the City of Greenville award the $2,535,000 tax and revenue certificates of obligation, Series 2023, to TD Securities. Mayor?
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Adams? That was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Educational. Are there no questions? Okay. Then I'll open the public testimony. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either in favor or opposition to this item 7B? If there is not, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this particular issue? Okay. Motion is second. Please vote. And that item passes unanimously. Item 8A, resolution consideration and action on resolution in support of a flagpole project and appointing an ad hoc committee. This is an item that I brought to the city council. I've had a lot of comments and input from citizens who have seen the flag that flies very proudly over at Rockwall. I don't know if you've seen it. It's got a 42-inch base. I think the flag is 60 by 80, and there are people that ask that we consider something like that. So tonight I'd like to appoint an ad hoc committee to look into that. We have a resident flag expert on our council, Tim Cruz, and in addition I'd like to appoint myself and Terry Thomas to that committee. And the idea is to investigate this and come back with a recommendation to the council, what it might cost, where the location might be, and that sort of thing. I think it's a great thing for the city of Greenville, and so that's what this is about. You want to add anything, Summer?
No, just that, we did contact Rockwall, and we're kind of following their same process about, because it was brought up by their council as well, and so we've gotten a lot of information from their city secretary's office as well, and so we're following those processes, and we'll also have to involve TxDOT at some point as well, depending on the location of where we decide to put it, if it's out close to the interstate, so we'll involve them, but we've got all that information, and Carla's office has been helpful in gathering that for us, and so this is kind of the first step in their process as well, and it took a couple years for their process. COVID-19 kind of got bumped into their process, so I don't assume it'll take as long as it did for theirs.
So are there any questions from the council regarding this item? If there are none, I'll open public testimony. Anyone like to speak either in favor or opposition to this issue? Okay, is there no one? What is the pleasure of the council? Motion, is there a second? Motion second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 8B, consideration action on a resolution for additional design services for major road realignment and drainage, for the major road realignment and drainage project. Summer.
Yes, Mayor. We've had some. You guys approved a project back 2 years ago for the realignment of Majors Road, which is the major road that goes into our GA airport. And so we did that initially, and we funded it on our own for about $1.3 million. We notified our lobbyist in Washington about that, and he said, "Hey, I think we could probably get an economic development administration grant for that road." And so we did that. We put in and made application for that grant, and that required, because we applied for that grant, that required some additional environmental assessments, which were about $76,000, and then it also required some updating the water and sewer for future growth because it's an economic grant. And so in order to do that, there was about $168,000 worth of design services that we needed to add to their original contract before we had applied for that grant. So we applied for the grant in the amount of $1,250,000. So, and combined with the 1.3, we should have enough to complete the entire project. And so hopefully we'll be getting word soon that that grant will be going through, and hopefully we can make an announcement soon.
Okay, any other questions for the city manager? If there are none, I'll open this for public testimony. I'd like to speak either in favor or opposition to this issue. There being no one, what is the pleasure of the council regarding item 8B? Yes. Motion second, please vote. And item 8B passes unanimously. Item 8C, consideration and action on a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the City of Greenville and GUS. Chief Powell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, this is a land use agreement between the City of Greenville and GUS. We're going to have 3 radio towers for our project, and we've got 2 sites already secured, and this would be the 3rd one. We already own the land through GUS, and they've been gracious enough to let us, I guess, coexist out there with them. There won't be any cost really, other than having to move some fences around a little bit, and we're going to cover that through our radio project. Really, that's it. It's very straightforward and simple, but if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Question for Chief Powell.
The Juice Board did approve it also, so they're on board as well.
I guess there are no questions. I'll open it. Okay.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Is this agreement to use the tower they already have there, or?
No, we'll be building the tower.
Building a new tower, okay.
We just needed the land to do it, and obviously this is a cheaper way to do it instead of having to buy the land, and it's in the area that we were looking for. So it worked out good for both.
Any other questions? Since there are none, I'll open this up. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll open this up for public testimony. Anyone like to speak either in favor or opposition to this issue? There's no one. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion second. Please vote. And that item passes unanimously. Item 8D, consideration and action on a resolution authorizing a contract for architectural services with Barker Rinker CCAT for the design of a multi-generational recreation center and expansion of Reese Davis Recreation Center. Brett.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council, we're asking for you to approve resolution authorizing the agreement being the amount of $4,977,917. And this would put a new facility, recreation athletics out at the sports park, and then expand onto the existing facility there at Reese Davis. And I've got a presentation we'll kind of go through here. Maybe. Is the mouse on? Steve, that's what happened right there. You see it moving? Okay, so to kind of give you a little background, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've included a facility of this nature in all our budget presentations as a need, as we've been outgrowing our current gym and basketball court, volleyball court necessity over the last couple of years. So back in April, we did an ordinance with LT Sports Consulting, who came in and kind of looked at the need of athletic space here in Greenville. And then in August 10th of 2022, we published a public survey that we got about 1,839 responses on. And the majority of them, over 68%, were very positive, and then 20% somewhat positive. Another question that we found to be beneficial in that survey was question 16. Would you or members of your household pay for the use of a facility of this nature? And 80% voted yes. And then, so October 29th, we advertised for an RFQ for architectural and engineering services, and we received those on November 22nd. And we got 10 submissions, and they were all very qualified companies that turned in submissions. So on December 6th, staff met. We went through all the submissions, and we narrowed it down to 3: PBK Sports, BRS, and Brinkley Sargent. And kind of give you, went a little quick, but that's all right. So the scoring, we had a scoring matrix that staff used to identify that Barker Rinker CCAT BRS was, for us, fit Greenville a little bit better. So they are a recommendation. Thank you, Ms. Carla. So to give you a little background, they've been in the business for about 47 years. 80% of their workload is with recreation and aquatic design. So for us, they're a name brand within Parks and Recreation, as they do a lot of public speaking, 20 to 30 events per year. And probably the biggest thing that stands out is they got 1.6 million square foot of database to help us design our facility. So their process was very attractive in how they go about working with staff and going through our surveys to identify what our needs are here for a facility. So that was something they use a card game to kind of help decide what type of facility we really want. And again, kind of touched on that. They've got 16 centers in the U.S. and really 17 now with West Virginia. But they use those centers to help us decide what's working program-wise, revenue-wise, and new ideas that maybe aren't in Texas yet. And so some opportunities they identified in Greenville was first and foremost a recreation center. And then you got the spinoffs of that, sports tourism, athletic center, competition facility. They believe that this will be an impact local and regionally, as well as economic impact to the community. And so just kind of give you a rundown of what their RFQ was based on. The assumptions would be at Reese Davis, we would renovate and touch up the existing spaces and add a new gym, classrooms, and support spaces. Right now, we're very limited with classrooms on how big the classes we can have, line dancing and things like that. And then with the gym, I mean, that thing's full all the time. So we've got a divider, so we really only rent out one half or the other to get a full court. We don't do that over there currently. Can you go back one? Sorry. My bad. So in terms of the sports park, what that facility would look like would be 4 to 6 basketball courts with 12 volleyball and pickleball courts, a walking track in there, walking/running, indoor 25-meter pool with a splash pad and toddler area with restrooms and locker rooms, a turf soccer field with batting cages, golf simulators, and then we put in there for a gym and exercise space for people to have circuit, free weights, and group exercise classes, and then 5,000 square foot of sports medicine or physical therapy space, and then party rooms for birthday rentals and things of that nature. And so in terms of site locations, we would be applying money here to both ends, both sides of town. North side, we would be affecting Reese Davis, enhancing that facility, as well as building a new facility down at the sports park. And so with Reese Davis, kind of what they were looking at is adding additional parking in about 26,000 square feet, which the current facility is 18,350. So it would be adding, we'd have about 50,000 square feet of rec center over there for the community, which would be big. And then the sports park, it would look something similar to this, 100,000 square foot facility in there with an outdoor exercise area, turf exercise area with the indoor pool and aquatics. And then it would be right there in proximity to some of the other amenities there. And this was kind of their focal point, was to create a center with a plaza out front that people can go to all the different facilities and really enhance the user experience. And maybe program verification would last about 6 weeks, schematic design about 12 weeks, design development about 12 weeks, construction document 16, bidding permitting 8 weeks, and then 16 months for construction to hopefully open September 2025. And then kind of the overall breakdown of this project would be, overall the project would be $65 million, $54 million of which would be construction costs, $7 million at Reese, $38.3 million at the sports park, and then we added an 8.7 additional for sports park to finish out all the parking at the sports park. If you've never been there, that thing's packed and there's hardly any parking there when we have games. sports lights for the soccer fields, and then a pump track for our skateboarders and cyclists out there. And then you have 11 million in soft cost, and 5.2 of which is your A&E, and then some of your furnishing fixtures, 2 million, owner contingency of 2.8 million. So that would be how that comes to 11 million on soft costs. And this is kind of a breakdown of fee summary. Their base services is 4.2 million, and then some of the additional services are about 748,000. So to bring us to 4.9 million on that. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any other questions for Brett?
I want to thank you. We put you through a ringer for this for several months, and you sure done a lot of research and a lot of hard work, and it's much appreciated.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
I think it's something that's transformational for our community. It'll make a huge change, so, and something our youth really need. So, thank you very much. Any other questions? There not being any questions, I'll open this up for public testimony. Anyone here like to speak either in favor or opposition to this issue?
Deidre Mead, 414 Division Street, Greenville, 75401. I think Greenville has had a dearth of things like this with the closing of the Y. So I think this would be a wonderful thing for Greenville. So I am for this project. I have one request. Reese Davis, please do not cut down the live oak tree. That design had a building over it. Those trees are old, and they represent Greenville, and we cut too many trees down. We allow too many trees to be cut down. We do not enforce our tree ordinance for subdivisions. Green is in our name. Figure out a way to keep those trees. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Tammy Pyle, 4024 Dixon Circle. I participate in Reese Davis, and I will tell you that there are a lot of active seniors and a lot of active kids going there. It does get quite congested, and the additional room would be wonderful. As far as the sports park expansion, I think that we are really taking a step back if we don't go forward with that. We have lots and lots of kids participating in things, and we have lots of children going outside of Greenville because they don't have the facilities here to do what they want to do. So I'm all for it, and I hope you all will be too.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to speak? Mr. Sims.
Greg Sims, Board of Development. I just want to say, I think this is a game changer for us. I mean, the economic impact that this facility will do, I mean, think about 100,000 square feet of recreation facility. That's unbelievable. So with the community, with us growing, with the number of residents that are moving here, they're moving here from a lot of places that have facilities. They're moving here from, they're used to, this type of facilities being able to do it in their own hometown. So, as the sports park, 20 years ago, maybe we put that in for the children then. This is the next step. And so I think it's a tremendous idea, and kudos to Brett and his staff and council for seeing the vision. It seems like that, as we keep moving and we keep growing, the ball keeps, the level keeps rising with our other communities. So, whether we like it or not, the Western Hunt County is growing like unbelievable. I'd like to get some of those residents coming over here, as we've been sending residents over to those places. So I'd like to get them coming this way. This will be a tremendous impact, I think, to our hotels, our restaurants, our shopping, our retail. There's a lot of indirect revenue that's going to be generated off of this. It'll flow into the city under your sales tax, your hotel motels tax, your restaurant and retail sales tax, as well as, boy, what an amenity. You're looking to move to a new community. You want to buy a new house. You want to build a new house. You want to move into a new apartment. Man, look at this. This is awesome. So anyway, kudos to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Anyone else like to comment? Yes. Okay.
Frank Stevenson, 11614 Michelle Drive. I'm speaking in favor of it. Also, just on a side note, a couple years ago when they had a youth select baseball team tournament here, I was speaking with a woman, and she was talking about the sports park and how great that was. Just imagine having a whole setup there, and it's been a long time coming. And I got excited just by seeing the setup, and not only on one end of town, but also expanding the north side of town as well. Which is the side I grew up on, and just to see that, and because if I had that growing up on that end of town, that would have done me a whole lot of good. I'm just being real with that. And to have that, it speaks volumes, and so don't squander this opportunity. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in favor or opposition to this item 8D? If not, I'll close public testimony. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue? Motion second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. I'd like to ask the city secretary to read the consent calendar, please.
City Council minutes from February 7th. Resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application for funding from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. Resolution authorizing a construction services agreement with BNC Concrete Construction for a half-mile trail at Oak Creek Park, and a resolution authorizing the City of Greenville to apply to the Texas Water Development Board for a flood infrastructure fund for the design and construction of the stormwater detention pond at the north end of the airport.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from the council regarding any of these four issues or comments? If there are none, I'll open public testimony. Anyone here like to speak either in favor or opposition to these items, any of these items? If not, I'll close public testimony. What is the pleasure of the council regarding the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, second. Please vote. And the consent calendar passes unanimously. City staff reports, monthly status update. City manager.
You'll probably have to turn it for me, I'm sure. Let's see. Yep, I got it. Okay, this will be for the month of January. So the Waste Connections complaints were about a little bit more than December. So I guess my time's up. Sorry. Gotta go. I know, right? Just wanted that one, didn't you? It's okay. So you can put me on a timer anytime. I won't mind. Yeah. Okay, now it won't turn me. Now it won't work. I think you took it over. Oh, there we go. Okay, there it goes. Okay, contractor utility cuts for the month of January were 36, a little bit less than December, but more than the previous months. Pothole repairs were about similar, 63, and these will be the in-house repairs that our crews take care of, the smaller ones. Street sweeping was about 72 miles. Just a reminder that the downtown area is swept on a weekly basis in conjunction with work from the Parks Department that cleans downtown as well. The mowed areas, they mowed Mustang Crossing, Wesley Street, Lee Street at Walnut, Templeton at Up the Grove, and Monty Stratton as well. And also during the month of January, the inmate crews helped us as well in the drainage, mowing, and that kind of thing. So that they're helping us quite a bit get ahead on those things. Line of sight, intersections that were cleared were 17. Signs replaced were 30. 27 new signs were also made in January of 2023. That includes any subdivisions or anything like that. A lot of those subdivisions that we approved 1 and 2 years ago are now starting, all the infrastructures, majority of the infrastructure is in, so they're starting to build, pull building permits, and so streets, those street signs are going up. I don't know if you've been out off of 69 and seen that subdivision out there, but if you haven't, it's all the streets are in over there, and so it's quite large, actually. I didn't realize how large it was till I drove out there the other day, so that's just one of them on that side of town. Building permits issued were 29, and then also COs issued were only 3, which doesn't really give you much of an indication, just means they finished during the month of January. I suppose those numbers will start going back up come springtime. Everything kind of gets going after the holiday season. Raw water line design phase still is at about 90%, continuing to work not only on the easements with Daniel and Cobb Finley, but Bartlett and West is working in conjunction on also with the pipe supplier. So all of it, there's a lot of moving parts in that project. We also back in February 7th pre-purchased approximately 10 miles of pipe, so we have approximately 15 miles of pipe. That'll leave about a little bit over about 5 miles to still procure through that process, but our agents are still working on that.
So you say pre-purchase, and when will we actually receive delivery?
They told us Q1 of 2024. So it's the plan right now. So yeah, the company that's helping us, that spoke to us last time, they're obviously waiting for the pricing to be right. You guys gave us a top price that we could purchase it at. But once kind of the market settles down a little bit, then they can dangle this in front of them and say, hey, I've got this 15 miles I need made, what price can you give me? So he's kind of waiting for that that demand and supply to kind of get into our favor and give us the best possible price. So that's kind of what he's waiting for, but no later than Q1 of 2024 is what he updated us last time. Okay. And I'll happy to answer any questions if there's any more.
Any questions?
I have a question on the $50 million bond, street.
The street bond? The road bond?
Yeah. Do you have a list of the rest of the streets that's going to be fixed?
I do. I'm actually meeting with my engineering superintendent and GP, and we're going to audit that whole bond project. And then once we get that, and then we're going to make a recommendation to the transportation subcommittee. So I'm meeting with him on Friday. We're going to get all that together, make sure we're everything that we've got some encumbrances out there, and we can see what's done and what's not. And then we'll make a further recommendation to the transportation subcommittee. And then from that recommendation, we'll continue, and I can update the council on that list once that subcommittee sees it.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. City council discussion, proposed agenda items. Are there any items for discussion city council members would like to recommend? If there are none, you have before you the board and commission minutes for the Board of Development, Keep Greenville Beautiful, Planning and Zoning. And I guess that's all. So we've already met in executive session. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight. Certainly appreciate it. Yeah. Congratulations.